Good morning, it's Dr. Rowe here. I hope you're well. I wanted to do a quick video. I'm about to go into a podcast, which is really exciting, with Harminder and a gentleman that I've known for probably 15 years now. And we're going to be talking about nutrition, health, how to get an optimum performance out of a day from a nutritional perspective. So super excited about that, particularly with COVID seem to be coming around with a second round, so immunity building is really important, so look out for that. Anyway, that's not the subject of this particular post. I actually I'm here. I thought I'd just do this quickly before we go into our podcast. This is a subject that does come up quite a bit, off and on over the years, and still does actually, probably more so now, with people wondering about can they get out and do certain things and find properties, and the question is, should I use a sourcing agent or not? I'll just say that again. Should I use a sourcing agent or not? Now, what's a sourcing agent? For those of you that are brand new to property, this is somebody that goes out and finds you the properties. This is not the same as the estate agent. Estate agent's a little bit like going into a general store and you're looking for suits, and maybe they do suits off the rack. They'll just grab a load of suits for you, put them in front of you, if you're a bloke looking for suits, that is, and they'll just lay them in front of you and you have to choose. So it's very generic, it's very general. Whereas with a sourcing agent, it is bespoke. They find property deals that fit exactly what your strategy is. Now, why is that important? Well, if you're busy, for example, so let me put this up. I've got a few things I wanted to share with you. 3 things, first of all. Number 1, if you're super busy and you don't have a lot of time, then sourcing agents fit perfectly into your particular style of investing. So you kind of want your hands filled. In other words, they're going to go and fill your hands with properties for you, and that's fine. That gives you the opportunity to clearly state what you're looking for, which is where the strategy comes in. So the 3 things I normally recommend are, and I've got them on the screen here. Number 1, all right, here, look, I'm trying to point. Are you busy? Are you time poor? Are you challenged from a time perspective? If you're brand new to property, you've got a lot of time and you want to get your hands in the market, go find the deals, which is what I did from an early stage in my business, then you don't need a sourcing agent. In fact, you could actually become a sourcing agent and get a fee for that. And those fees could be 2, 3, 4, 5K or more per deal that you find. But if, on the other hand, you're extremely busy, which I'm guessing quite a few people of you watching this might be, then you could do a mixture of finding properties yourself, but also using an angel to help you, a sourcing agent, sorry, to help you find in the area. Actually, you're going to use angels to fund the deals. Angels give you the money, and then you use a sourcing agent to find you the deals. Isn't that cool? Find the money, find the deals. But that's another conversation for another day. All right, so what are we talking about here? We're talking about a time poor person or someone that has a very core strategy they're putting their time into, but wants to use a sourcing agent to find deals for them elsewhere, for example. That could be another way you use a sourcing agent. You've got to be clear on your strategy. You're buying properties for income, you're buying properties to flip. Do you want a more creative strategy? And the stuff that we teach when I'm doing the property teaching, that actually comes into play. It's like people go, hold on a minute, what do you mean by strategy? Well, there's multiple strategies. I think I'll give a list out of about 15 to 20 different strategies at least that you could choose from. So you've got to decide, and there's multiples of those as well, derivatives of those. You've got to decide basically what is your core strategy that you're looking for to use that sourcing agent for. And how I use them is typically remotely. So we are looking at some more local strategies coming into the back end of this year, into early next year. But at the moment, most of my strategies are remote from where I live, 4 or 5 hours away. That's when I use my sourcing agents to find very specific type of properties that I'm looking for at the moment, which is where the area comes in, number 3. You see, if you're looking and living in an area where properties are abundant, so I'm in Sussex, prices are high, the type of strategy I'm looking for narrows down. Whereas if I go north, Midlands, northeast, northwest, a lot more choices, a lot more strategies in terms of me getting properties cheaper but getting a good cash flow. So the area will determine whether or not you want to use a sourcing agent. If you're living in a marketplace where there's great opportunities and you've got the experience, the knowledge, the education to do this, then of course it might be that you don't need a sourcing agent, and that's when you could become a sourcing agent. So if you're watching this and you said to me, I'm busy, I live 3 or 4 hours away from my area that I'm looking for, I'm very clear on my strategy, but I don't have a lot of time to find properties, that is when you'd most likely be using a sourcing agent. Okay, a few other things then. So I think the question, was, should I use a sourcing agent, and what else do I need to be aware of? Things to look for. Number one, are you educated? If you're educated, then see, the problem you've got is if you don't understand about property strategies, if you don't understand about what to look for, how to number crunch a property, how to reverse calculate the property to know what the price should be, how to work out your return on investment, yields are useful but not hugely valuable, what kind of cash flow can you squeeze for it, can you have multiple exit strategies on this property, all these type of things. If you don't know that, then a sourcing it, and this I see a lot, right? You go to these property networking events, not right now necessarily because of COVID, but when they kick back off again, and you walk in there, there's people just giving out business cards. Yeah, I source properties, and then there's novices going and going, oh great, I've got someone that's going to find me a property. Well, that person doesn't necessarily have any knowledge themselves or education. Might be just a random person that happens to be living in an area and can find the occasional property. So there's certain things you need to find out about that person. Personally, I think they should have been educated in property themselves, so they understand all the strategies that you might be looking for. You definitely need to be educated, and people always argue this one, well, can't I just read it from a book? Well, actually, I think if that was the case, there'd be a lot more property investors out there. So you do need to go and learn how to do this properly, all right? So be mindful of that. Number two, what funds have you got? Because if you're going to go and work with a sourcing agent is going to charge you a fee to find the property. You're going to need the money to do the work and the renovations and to do the deposits, etc. And then how many do you want to do? So if I'm working with a sourcing agent, they usually say to me, all right, what sort of funds are we talking about? What have you got to play with? How many properties are you looking for? So you've got to be really clear on it's like a shopping list for that sourcing agent, but you need to know, first of all, what you've got to play with. You don't want to send somebody off to look for properties for you. They come back and go, here you go, there's 5 that I found that fit your criteria. Which one of these do you want? And you say, well, actually, to be honest with you, I don't have the money right now, but thank you so much. At least I know there's properties in this area. They're going to get pissed off with you. So make sure that you don't mess people around and make sure you know your funds. And then finally, are they registered? As a thing to look into as well. There's a load of other criteria you could look for, but I want to give you the big ones at the moment. Are they registered? Now, if you go back 5-10 years, when I started back 20 years ago, you could find properties for anyone. You didn't have to be registered. Whereas now, effectively, you're acting like an estate agent. If you're a sourcing agent or if they're representing you, they have to be registered with the property ombudsman. They need to have insurance in place, and you should see proof of this. And officially, when they start working with you, they're supposed to give you some kind of fact finding, know your customer type form, so they get to know you, because that's part of the fact that they are formally registered. If they're not, there's potentially risk on them and on you. So this filters down a lot of the crappy sourcing agents that are out there in the market, and it's not disrespectful to them, but there's a lot of people out there that genuinely just thought, I'll give it a go, and of course they don't have that background, that pedigree. All right, so that is really the 2 key things I wanted to get across. Just a quick reminder, so I'll put them on the screen for you. We've got, are you busy? Do you have a strategy? And do you know your area? And are you educated? Do you know your funds? And are they registered? Excellent. And the other big note is just don't go rushing into it. Make sure that you're clear before you do this. Property investing has lots of amazing opportunities, but if you get it wrong and you don't know how to do it, and you're certainly not educated, it's going to be very risky. So go look at some of the other videos I've got on this subject, and hopefully that will help you. I've got to sign out because we're about to do a podcast. Take care.